Both my parents are artists. My mother is a mural painter. She does like kids' bedrooms and stuff like that. She's been doing that for years. And my father was an animator at Disney. And the thing about him is that he is just this incredibly talented artist, and he is really focused on line, attitude of line. You know, he's a cartoonist and an illustrator, so it's about the weight of the line and what it describes. And my mother, interestingly enough, focuses on value. She never works in line. She always works in gradient and value of color. So I think that's kind of interesting. They're coming from two different worlds, and then I was born out of that. And I always thought if I ever wrote an autobiography, I would have a chapter called The Disney Family. Yeah. That's what my family was. We were Disney corporate family. We went to their Christmas parties, and it was just on and on, all that stuff. But my father always taught me when I was a kid, and that's another reason why I'm still an animation person, that I love it so much, is because he always said that animators were actors, and there was really only one pencil between you and them. Every single frame they touched it, they really wanted to express an attitude, and they get it across, even though there's a lot more like physical objects between you and the animator. Really there isn't at the same time, because it's all really there. It's really there, and they're just taking pictures of it. And I really love that and respond to it. But there's a director who was actually directing the last Disney 2D animated film when they shut the animation studio down. That's a family friend. His name is Barry Cook. He was one of the directors of Mulan. And he was in the middle of it, and but he got to work on a film that my dad also worked on. It was a short film, because that's how Disney used to audition directors for their next feature, is that they would allow them to do a short film. And the last one that they did was called John Henry, and it was a great film. And what was really cool about it is that they left the sketch lines in the final piece. If you go online and look at it on YouTube, there's probably clips of it, you'll see there are just pieces of the animatic left in the final drawing, and it's really quite beautiful, and you really, really kind of connect on a very intimate level with the animator at that point. The director of that piece was, I think his name is Mark Henn. He was like the lead animator for Jasmine and Ariel and all the Disney princesses, so he draws chicks pretty good. But he's really just the master of his craft, and he was the one who wanted that, and I think that was really cool that he embraced that.
I pulled up a whole bunch of the pictures. I don't have them loaded in yet, so I'm going to take a couple minutes while we're talking to pull that in. But I thought that was kind of cool that you had all of your movie posters like you've done. I didn't realize that you were an artist when we first met, and actually I didn't realize you were an artist until really just like this last year.
What was interesting is that I knew ever since I was 9 that I wanted to be a filmmaker, and I didn't know how, and I didn't think I would ever get there. And I ended up going to FSU, Florida State, because it was a public school and I had a scholarship. So I went there, and they have one of the top 10 film schools in the nation. So I tried 3 times to get into the film school. The office knew me by name. They knew how desperate I was. I did everything that they asked and more, and I never got in. And at that point, I was stranded. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what my major was going to be. So I decided to major in fine art, because when I was in high school, I painted a lot. I did hundreds of canvases. I did that after school almost every day. They weren't realistic. They were very stylized, but they were mine. They were mine, and it was very personal and special to me. Yeah. So I didn't know what else to do, and it really was probably a mistake, because if you think about it, anything that's really personal to you and is really very intimate and you value so much, and it's a source of peace, should never be used as a professional outlet. Yeah. Really, ever. Which is maybe not the smartest thing, because, film is very personal to me. But I graduated from school, and I didn't actually learn that much. I struggled. I couldn't get a job, and my father was like, "Get a job," and I felt terrible. And finally, after like 7 months, I became this like glorified office manager who occasionally, sometimes, got to do graphic design for them. I was basically a graphic designer on the cheap for them, and I did that for 2 years. And some of my stuff did get in magazines, and I was pretty happy about that. And but I was like, this really sucks because people are telling me what looks good.
And you tell me about this one.
Well, this was inspired by my friend Yvette, who's a dancer. I basically have like no friends from high school except her, essentially. And she really inspires me. And while I've been in this really dark place lately, I know she has had similar experiences in her life, dealing with depression. And, we actually talked on the phone for the first time in like a year last week because she, I was really sad and I didn't really have anyone to talk to. And I just know she's always had depression problems. And we just really connected. And then I just thought of her, and this is not done yet. It's a work in progress, but the basic color layers are down. But I'm also playing around with new Photoshop brushes. I've never really made my own brushes. I've used default brushes, and they really stink, actually. So I've made my own, and I'm really happy with them now. And if you look closer at her hair, I use this really cool dry brush that gives her hair a lot of tiny little textures. And that'll be more apparent when I get the other colors down. But basically, she's touching that whole area down there, and the white space is going to be dark. It's dark. It's the theme of this is that she's surrounded by like lightness and goodness, and then but really she's really there in darkness totally, and it's a farce.
Sorry, I changed up to the next picture because I'm still learning.
Okay. That's all right. This is an totally illustrator drawn picture that's inspired by Repo the Genetic Opera.
Okay.
It's the character Blind Mag, and I really just loved the look of her in the last scene, and I was like, oh, I should do like a cool, like really graphic thing of her, and it turned out really nicely. I really like
nice.
it.
So you've done all of these inside Photoshop or Illustrator?
Both.
Okay.
And I make booklets out of my for pitch books for my films. I make them in InDesign.
Okay.
And they're really, InDesign is great. It's a highly underrated program.
Here, we'll pull up this next one here and see how.
So this is just a Photoshop mock-up of a canvas I'm working on right now. The canvas is almost completed, but it's just a mock-up. It's not actually a physical thing. It's just so that I could make stencils. I made 3 different stencils. I made the palm fronds in the very back that are very transparent, and then I made the leaves as a separate stencil, and then I made her as a stencil.
Okay. So there's layers, like you're just doing each one in a separate layer and then putting it all together.
Yeah. It takes a while, but it's very rewarding. This one I just did yesterday, but it's been in my head for about 100 years, and I'm like, I just need to get this out. I need to get it done. I wanted it to look like, a person being slowly squeezed to death, because that's how I feel almost every day in a box. So I bought this square canvas, and this is just a mock-up of what I'm going to do to it. I already did the background. I just need to lay him in.
All right. So I think I've got a couple more of your just regular art ones. Here we go. That's
a logo I made for my third installment of my book series. My book series is originally was released as one volume that's about 270,000 words, and now I'm in the next few weeks I'm going to re-release it as a trilogy, and this will be for the 3rd volume. This will be the cover for it.
Now, which book is this?
The book series is called 10 Revolutions. It's a post-apocalyptic story about a boy. It's a revenge kind of quest. It starts out that way, but it's really an exploration of love, the nature of love and sexuality. That's really the main theme of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also about, even though it's post-apocalyptic, it's sort of talking about the age of science versus the age of myth,
Mm-hmm.
and how people really in this age, the year is about 2236, I think, and the main theme of it is that everyone really kind of blames technology and science for the death of the earth. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot more superstition in the world. People have this medieval mindset these days, and this is sort of allowing. I have this sort of magic realism element to the story that the thing is that this superstition kind of mentality that the whole world seems to have. They believe in weird stuff now. The thing is that that's allowing those things to be. Their mental energy is making magic and things like that reality. It's about a kid who doesn't think he's brave or strong or good enough really at anything, saving his sister who is good at everything. And she really needs his help, and he manages to do it. It's really a proving kind of thing, and that's the main theme of it. But it's very fantasy-based. He's essentially traveling through the different realms of reality. Buddhist mythology believes that there are 7 realms of reality. That there's the realm of heaven and hell and humans and hungry ghosts and a bunch of other stuff. I don't remember, but mine is just 5. Just 5. There's heaven, hell, ghosts, humans, and dreams.
Okay.
And the thing is that the way that women have children is when they get pregnant, they go to the realm of dreams and they meet their children, the souls of their children. And that's how they sort of connect. And the thing is that there's an angel that guards the island where the kids live in the realm of dreams, and you're not supposed to take a kid that doesn't belong to you. And the kid who's not really strong or good or anything ended up being taken by somebody that didn't belong to him. So, so that's why they don't dream for the majority of their lives, because then subconsciously they know that they will be caught. But eventually they do dream by accident, and she gets trapped, and he has to save her. So it's now really,
you can get this on Amazon, right? You have this available?
Yes. I'm really proud of it. I hope someday to make a really lavish Jim Henson version of it. The
Adventures of Jack and Jill in the Realms of Beyond by L.M. Story. What a great book.
And I've actually been focusing on writing lately. I would like to make another film, but I just don't want to make one until I have a proper budget. I've written 4 feature films, and all of them I think are really strong. 2 of them I really think are like winners. And I'm working on 2 more scripts at the moment. I'm working on an adaptation of the children's book Miss Rumphius, and I'm working on a lesbian love story romantic comedy kind of thing, which I've never really written before, but I'm going to give it a shot.
I saw that you guys have been doing stuff for a while. I think the first that you guys had told me about was a movie called Red Finger Paint.
Yeah, and we made a proof of concept for that movie. We made back in Florida when we lived there, we made this proof of concept where it was a 6-minute sort of trailer for the movie. And the script I think is really good, but with the popularity of Stranger Things, it may not be as marketable now. But I thought of it before Stranger Things came out, so it's not exactly Stranger Things, but I think it's very reminiscent. It's very Spielbergian and brother-sister love kind of thing. So
tell me what this one is, A Martian Trailer Park.
This is my latest script. It is Oh my God. I've literally this has been a concept in my head for about 20 years. Wow. 20. Yeah. That's about right.
It catches up.
Yeah. I ingest these things for a really long time, and it takes me a month and I just bang it out. But Martian Trailer Park is about awkward social graces of teenagers. It's basically my version of Napoleon Dynamite.
Okay.
And but I think it's a lot more loving and a lot more intimate than Napoleon Dynamite. But maybe not as funny. But there are always coming of age movies coming out. But I'm hoping somebody will just kind of relate to it because it's about a kid who thinks he's an alien.
Okay.
And he eventually falls in love with this girl who literally has no connection with her emotions at all. Like she can't, she doesn't understand them. Like they're completely removed from her. And I find her really fascinating. She's really cool.
Nice. Okay, so this is the one that I want to talk about now.
Okay.
This is Material Things.
Yeah.
This was a project that you and me did, and it was the most epic film I think I've ever worked on for a short film. I mean, what we went through to make this film was everything that you go through to make a film.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really intense. We did the fundraiser thing. We did everything. And, we made a several $1,000 film for maybe $1,000, maybe $1,500. So
yeah, I know we kept the budget stripped down to nothing. We used a lot of volunteers. We got to use a lot of students from CNM, and then of course friends that are interested in stuff.
And honestly, I'm actually pretty pleased with Material Things, even though nobody ever watches it and nobody gives a crap. But I do because what I'm proud of about me, I think it's the best directing that I've ever done in the 4 films that I've made. And the reason that it came out so well is because I storyboarded the whole thing. And I knew exactly what I wanted and what coverage I wanted for every shot.
Yeah.
And that was so helpful to me. And it was great to just literally have this phone core board while we were shooting, and I put the storyboard up on it, and I could literally just X stuff out.
Yeah.
And I knew exactly, so these 3 setups are on this angle, so we'll just do all 3 of these right now, and then we'll move the camera. And it was that was the best way to do it.
You're not guessing. You're not like, oh, did I get that? You're like, oh, yeah, I got that. It's right there. But we had good crew, too. You had good script supervisor. You had a couple people that were there to keep it on track.
Yeah, I feel like it was really strong in a lot of aspects, and I think for me, it was the most rewarding film experience I've had besides making the Red Finger Paint short.
And out of the little short stuff that I've done, and the 48s are fun in their own right, but that was the full filmmaking experience crammed into a 3-day weekend.
Yeah, it was, you can say what you want about anything I do about my experience level or whatever. I know how to freaking make a film.
Yeah.
I know how to do it, and I know I can do it in my sleep.
Yeah.
You just give me the money, I make it happen. Well, I used to watch a lot of Mystery Science Theater 3000,
yeah.
And I saw the worst movie ever on Mystery Science Theater 3000. It was Manos, the Hands of Fate. I'll never forget the name of that movie because it was so awful, but it was literally, oh my God, it was so terrible. But then I saw Vin Diesel's Babylon AD in 2002 or 3, and I went, oh my God, this is the worst movie I've ever seen. This is it.
Somebody's done it. They've beaten.
They've beaten a 60s movie that had maybe $1 budget, and they did it with $100 million and Vin Diesel, so that was pretty impressive.
That's good when you're going to shoot yourself in the foot. Just both barrels, right?
Yeah. You might as well do it right, Go all the way. Go 100%.
There's an old movie joke about Ishtar. And that's kind of was the whole idea. It was this $1 million budget. They spent all this time over in Asia filming it, and then it was just it was nothing.
Or but I have yet to see Battlefield Earth, so I don't know if that's going to beat Babylon AD. That's the John Travolta movie.
One, right? Yeah.
I have not seen it, but everyone says it's the worst piece of puke.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
It's been, I mean, like, a lot of the special effects, makeup, and things like that are over the top, and it's kind of Star Trek-y Klingon. You know, it's like real close. So there's a couple of cool things, you know, and like, obviously it's not going to get made if there wasn't something to it, you know, and whether it's just the mindless action violence or the conflict of race story. But no, overall, it was a pretty big piece of shit. And I wouldn't recommend it.
I'll keep this note very brief, but I just want to segue just very briefly. I'm a big animation fan and animation historian. I love animation, and I'm a big Don Bluth fan. Mm-hmm. He's made a lot of great movies, but he made this movie in the 90s that literally, I heard the story, a whole bunch of producers kept changing things in the script, kept changing things and insisting. And with so many hands in the pot, it became this nightmare. And the film that they made was literally like the worst piece of crap ever. And that movie is Rockadoodle.
Rockadoodle.
If you've ever seen it, please, I'm so sorry.
I have it. I have a VHS copy of it.
I used to have a VHS copy of it too. But, and the only reason it got such great distribution because it was a Don Bluth picture.
Yeah.
And really after that, he really suffered, and he made a couple of good ones after that, but they didn't get quite as much money because... And then he made Titan AE in 2000, and it was actually a pretty decent film. It wasn't great, but it was decent. But it bombed at the box office, and he hasn't made a movie since. And it's really heartbreaking to me.
I wonder if that's money or ego.
It might be both.
Because I was at a film convention a couple of years ago, and the whole pitching for film project or process is different now. You don't come in and say, "Hey, I'm Coppola," and well, maybe Coppola still does, but most of you don't get to walk in there with your credentials and say, "I'm going to make this film." You're pitching investors. There becomes this board that's involved with this, and there's hundreds of millions at stake, and it's treated more of a stock option now. And when I was at this panel, we were talking about the ideas are safe ideas now. Almost everything is some safe remake of something or thing. And so I don't think...
That's such horseshit, man.
So a lot of these front-running, cutting-edge filmmakers, you're either just putting everything out there and maybe finishing your film, because without money, you know what it's like, but... Or you're going to go remake Rocky again.
Yeah, and that's why I'm sorry to say it, but I was a little disappointed in the Best Picture winner last year, Moonlight. It's like, that was, yes, that was a subject matter that no one's really made a movie about, and that's good, you should make a movie about it. But for God's sake, it won Best Picture, and it was really a safe bet. It was too safe. It was just about stuff that people were absolutely going to be interested in no matter what kind of movie you put out. And then they got some really good actors for this very small budget that they had, and I'm really happy for them, but at the same time I'm like, the Academy has a pattern. They have a pattern, and they bet on certain things.
That's
and
right.
And that really just kind of aggravated me. It's like, why doesn't somebody make a movie like, as much as I hate it, Eraserhead or Brazil or something really weird,
like one of the good older and if you go and look in film classes, these are films they're going to show you in your film class. They're going to say, look at this artistic style, or look at the way that these guys broke the rules, and yet it's like kind of taboo to even go there anymore.
Yeah, and yet now Kubrick is like, he's like standard when he like broke the mold like a million times. And now he's like, you are, like, people just compare them to, it just bothers me. It really does. But at the same time, I am a hypocrite, because I recently, I'm trying to get to know directors I don't know that well. And the guy who did Donnie Darko, I decided to watch one of his movies and, his other movies, because I loved Donnie Darko. And I'm like, okay, let's give this guy a shot. He made this convoluted bullshit that I couldn't believe they got $100 million to make it. And I was like, really, man? Oh, man, that's so sad. It's really sad, man, that you really proved your salt, really, and then you made this garbage.
This is what you got.
Yeah, this is what you got afterwards. And I'm really sad about that.
Segment that you get to do now, because we're getting segued right into it. Mm-hmm. It's a minute to bitch about it, okay?
Oh, man.
You can pick any one of those movies, any subject. Hang on, I'm going to get my timer, okay?
Oh, man. I only get a minute?
And you get one. You just get to get 1 minute to bitch about it, okay? I've been wanting to do this.
What should I pick? Oh my God, there's so many things that piss me off right now. Okay.
So you got your subject figured out?
Maybe. I can't decide between Darren Aronofsky directing Oryx and Crake or Starship Troopers. I think I'm going to stick with Starship Troopers because that really makes me mad.
Okay, so Loren is going to bitch about Starship Troopers. You got a minute to bitch about it. Go.
Okay, so this movie, $150 million, something like that, in like 90s dollars. And it didn't know what it wanted to be. It literally didn't know if it wanted to be a satire on action movies or a satire on science fiction movies or a romance story. Didn't know what it was, and yet hundreds of producers and script writers and script readers said, "Oh, this is great." They said it was great. It was awful. It was so awful. It was the biggest piece of BS I've ever seen, and I have read people's blogs and they keep saying, "Oh, they don't understand it." There's nothing to understand. It's literally just a mess of genres whooshed together that doesn't even freaking make sense. None of it makes sense. The ending is weird and odd and, maybe slightly funny, and maybe they gave me the clue that it was supposed to be a comedy. But for God's sake, don't make a movie like that where it's not funny, ha-ha funny. It's like, is this supposed to be funny movie? Don't do that.
Okay, well, cool. Well, I think we spent like a little over half an hour chit-chatting, and I appreciate you coming and helping out with this. I'm just getting started here and trying to get the studio up and running again. And so I'm going to try to do a couple of challenges. I'm going to do an audio-visual format from here on. So Tuesdays is going to be an audio thing. We're going to talk about gear and caption sound and different tricks and things like that. And then Thursdays is going to be visual, which is going to be just anything visual, movies, photography, which are the two main things, but also performing arts and things like that. But Tuesday, I'm going to launch a sound challenge so that people that want to play along can, and we're going to do a Foley sound scavenger hunt.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
Yeah, and so I'll be making a list of some items that will be easy and some things that will be hard to get, and I will grade, I will give a point system out, so if you're using your phone you can still get it and play, but if you want to go out with like a Zoom, or if you want to take your good field gear out and come in with quality, then we can do that.
That sounds like super fun. I love Foley sound effects in general. Those are really fun.
Yeah, so that's what we're going to be working on. So we'll have a podcast tomorrow that we produce, and we will give more details then.
Cool.
All right. Well, Loren, thanks again for being part of the fun, and I guess we'll see everybody next time.